I haven't won an argument in 8 years. I haven't won an argument in 8 years. That is, of course, another way of saying that I've been married for 8 years. And that's what I'm here today to talk to you about. My marriage, my relationship with my wife, started very unorthodox. Actually, we were pen pals for 6 months, and then we met in a restaurant. It was like the biggest anticipation for a blind date ever. Right, and I was really worried at the time. I'd never been on a blind date before. My friend had. He'd been on loads of blind dates and he was quick to give me advice / horror stories. He said, sometimes you're just not compatible. He said he went on one blind date and after only half an hour, she blew him off. I thought, that's pretty good going, isn't it? Of course, he meant that they were incompatible. Not something I had to worry about with my future wife. We were very compatible then, and we really still are today. There's only one area where she would say we're not compatible, and that's that at home, I try too hard to be funny at the wrong times. I'm always trying too hard to be funny at home. I bet a lot of you are wishing I was trying harder now to be funny. But for instance, like she'd want a really romantic meal, and then that would be a time where I'd like chime in with some childish jokes or something, okay? Case in point, the other day, not so long ago, was World Steak Day, so she thought, oh, nice romantic meal time. On the same day as it being World Steak Day, it was also World Blowjob Day. This is true, you can check this, you can Google this on the internet, World Steak Day, World Blowjob Day, Google it if you've got absolutely nothing to do. But because it was World Steak Day and World Blowjob Day, I said to my wife, would you please cook me a steak and then give me a blowjob? I said, make it bloody and tender with extra gristle. Today is the punchlines obvious from the setup day. I actually did, that was a genuine conversation between me and my wife. So as you can imagine, it's laugh a minute at my house, laugh a minute, which is roughly the pace I'm going at the moment, to be honest. But despite things like that, she is still receptive to the idea of having children with me. We're considering having children, but we've heard loads of horror stories about that as well. From the very beginning, to the birth, to when they're sixth formers and leave school. For instance, there was a news story that my wife heard where there was this lady that needed a wee, and then when she sat down on the toilet just for a wee, a baby came out. She didn't know she was pregnant. My wife said to me, what do you think about that? She needed a wee and a baby came out. I said, well, she was probably glad she didn't need a shit. What would have happened then? And then, it doesn't end there. Toddlers, then they're toddlers. We saw a toddler when we were in Burger King the other day in central London. There was this toddler that was going, oh yeah, messing around and that. And the mum said, look, if you don't stop messing around, you're going to have to go over there and sit on the naughty chair. This child was defiant. He wasn't having any of this, okay? He said, no, I'm not going on the naughty chair. And the mum said, look, I'm not going to tell you again. Go and sit on the naughty chair right now. He said no. So the mum played mind games. She said, okay, that chair that you're on right now, that's the naughty chair. Then he started crying. I can't be doing with mind games like this. And by the way, this was in Burger King in central London, okay? Now the Burger King slogan says, Burger King, have it your way. On this occasion, I wanted it extortionately overpriced as fuck and they kindly obliged. But I digress. Talking about children, it doesn't end there, you see, then they go to school. My mum, she's a dinner lady, and she has horror stories about them when they're at school. She has to play mind games with the pupils as well. Okay, they won't eat vegetables, they won't eat their fruit. She has to resort to mind games and say things like, oh, what's your favourite sports star? What's your favourite music star? And then say, oh, David Beckham eats that fruit, and it's only then that they'll eat the fruit. She'll say, oh, Lady Gaga eats those vegetables, and it's only then that the pupils will eat their vegetables. You'd really expect better behaviour from sixth formers, wouldn't you? To be honest. Sixth formers there, I find sixth formers really annoying. Alright, they've got all the confidence in the world, but they don't know anything about the world. My advice to any annoying sixth formers who want to be remembered as a bright student with a great future who was loved by all, commit suicide. That's how it works. You'll get a great review in the paper and everything. I do have to apologise in case that joke in particular was perhaps something that wasn't, to your tastes. If you're offended by that joke, that's fine, that's fine. I have been described as being like Marmite. After a gig, someone said, oh, you're like Marmite. And I can take that. I said, oh, you mean like you either really love me or really hate me? And they said, no, you're like Marmite. You look like shit. So we don't know whether or not we're going to have children or not at all. We don't know going forward if that is going to be the thing that we do or not. But it's okay, because I don't think that anyone can tell the future. I don't think you need to be comfortable by planning out your future, stuff like that. I don't think anybody can tell the future. I don't believe in any of that stuff. Don't believe in fortune telling. Don't believe in clairvoyance, psychics, mediums, none of that stuff, but that's me, typical Libra. But it's alright, you know, if we don't have kids, that's fine, because even if I do say so myself, we have really philosophical conversations, started by me. My wife and I perhaps don't need a baby because we have great philosophical conversations. It was just the other night that I said to her, oh, I'm thinking, right, if it's true that abortion is murder, does that mean that blowjobs are cannibalism and masturbation is mass genocide? She said, get off me, I'm not in the mood anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, it's things like that that perhaps convey why I had to resort to being a pen pal with someone in the first place, instead of meeting them in person. That's not the full story. Before I leave you, I'll tell you why I did have to resort to being a pen pal, and that's how I met my wife. It was because, well, partially it's probably to do with where I came from, alright? I was born in a town called Gloucester. There was nothing to do, that probably contributed. In a town called Gloucester. Now Gloucester is known for the work of children's author Beatrix Potter and for the work of serial killer Fred West. As you've seen today, my work is somewhere in between. When I was about 18, up until the age of about 18, I got all my advice, all my love advice, all my friendship advice, all my relationship advice from friends, right? And in Friends, Ross, Chandler and Joey, they will go into a bookshop and they'll talk to a woman based on if they see that, like, she's got the same book as them or something like that. That will be the grounds for starting a conversation. It will be the grounds for possibly a relationship in Friends. Not in the real world, I find out the hard way. See, when I was 18, I genuinely manufactured this situation in a bookshop. I went in, picked up the same book as I saw just any woman. She had a book, picked up the same book, and I said, oh look, we've got the same book, tried to start a conversation. Obviously it was disastrous, and I had to leave the shop. And even at 18, leaving the shop, walking home, I realised this could be possibly a pivotal, disastrous point in my life, so I need to turn it around. Alright, and so when I saw a group of 4 ladies, I thought, this is my chance. This is my chance to turn it around. So I went up to them and I took a lot of guts, but I built the courage to introduce myself. And just as I said, hello, my name's Ed, a bird shat on my face. Alright? If you can imagine this, I'm trying to salvage the day, but then when that happens, what could I possibly say to salvage this situation? This is what I came up with. I said, ladies, if you play your cards right and come back with me, this is what your face could look like tonight. True story. And before I leave here, I'd just like to say I really enjoy doing stand-up. Technically, my first stand-up show was when I was age 4, but to a row of cuddly toys. Okay, it was at that point that I realised that I was overqualified to ever be considered eligible for Celebrity Big Brother. And I have to say, that crowd was, you know, historically speaking, one of my more receptive crowds. And it is an honour to have performed to them again tonight. Thank you, everybody. My name's Ed Surname. I'll see you in a bit.